Well, hello everyone, Texie88 here and welcome to another review, and now we're taking a look at the Commodore 64 version of Scuba Dive. Recently I took a look at the ZX Spectrum version and from what I recall I gave it 6 out of 10. Not a terrible game, but not exactly one that was probably going to keep your interest for really lengthy periods of time, but is probably worthy of a diversion if you're after something a bit different to the usual shoot 'em ups, beat 'em ups, fighting games and the like, and it can potentially fill a small void if you want to do something that's a bit different and in short bursts it's pretty much okay. And now we're taking a look at the Commodore 64 version, which was, like the Spectrum version, was released in 1983 by Durell software, who, as I said, in the Spectrum version later went on to do both the Saboteur games and Turbo Esprit, amongst other things. Different writer by looks of things, N. Dewdney, and so press any key to play. So you got these options, joystick or keyboard. Yeah, one of the few times you get to play using the keyboard on a Commodore 64, but I'll stick with the joystick. And sound on or off. Quite why you'd want to have the sound off is anyone's guess, but there you go. And just play as set. Okay. Firstly, what the hell am I looking at? That boat is very blocky. I mean, look how blocky it is compared to the marine life. And speaking of the marine life, look how scant the animation is on them, and indeed on the diver, compared to what we saw in the Spectrum version that I reviewed the other day. And unlike that, you can't go in pretty much in a whole slew of directions. You're stuck with the four main orthogonal directions. Oh, so you actually collect the oyster. What kind of sound effect is that? So you get your body dragged off by an octopus in this if you die. Okay. Look at those jellyfish. I mean, look at them, and then look how well they were presented and animated in the Spectrum version. Goodness me. Now the question is, where do I actually go to get onto the boat? Oh, okay. So it's still the back of the boat. So as you can see, I managed to get a... So you can still collect more than one bit of treasure, just like in the Spectrum version. God. Why is the animation so scant in this? I mean, from what I understand, the Commodore 64 actually had more memory than the 48K Spectrum that was available at the time. And look how brilliant the animation! Oh, for God's sake! And as I say, look at my Spectrum 48K review of the 48K Spectrum version of this, and look at the animation in that, and then look at this, and I won't have to say another word. I mean, you even had them turning around in that version, swimming the other way. They're all swimming the same way here. And what's that pulsating noise in the background? Boom, 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 boom. Oh, God. Why can't you go in other directions besides horizontally and vertically? So limiting. Right, got them. Now we're going to see if we can go down in that hole that's in the bottom middle of the screen. No octopus guarding it like there was in the... Notice how it's all been on one screen at them. I'm presuming... Oh, for goodness sake. Game over. Oh dear. I can't put the 88, it won't let me put numbers. Okay, let's have another go at that. I mean, splash sounds fine. Why can't the rest of the sound be as good as that? I mean, why do you have that whee every time you die? Oh, it's opening up a bit more than it was. No. Oh, for God's sake. Couldn't they have done away with that octopus and had the octopus guarding like in the Spectrum version? No. Oh, that sound is really embarrassing. I mean, everything's just got 2-frame animation on it. I mean, look, it's literally just the diver flapping his or her legs about. That's the extent of the animation on the swimming. What? I really didn't get through that. See, the octopus didn't even have anything to... Oh, God. I'm really not enjoying this anywhere near as much as the Spectrum version. I mean, this almost looks like it's been written in BASIC. Oh, for God. You just can't... I mean, is this some kind of pattern to that hole? It seems... Ugh. I mean, I'm presuming that you can actually go into that hole and get to other caverns, because I can't imagine that they'd allow a game that only has this one screen on it. Hey, all scrolling, but we've still got grey. Water. Oh God, what is? Look at that display on the right. It's actually juddering as the screen scrolls. Oh God! Oh, that's an even more embarrassing sound than the sound. What is with these twee sound effects? I mean, it's a Commodore 64. It can do better than this. I mean, even the sound effects in the Spectrum version were better than this. Oh, for goodness sake. And the diver goes so slowly. No, if you want to play Scuba Dive, play the Spectrum version. This sucks. Come on. Thank you. Oh, bloody hell. No, it doesn't look like there is a pattern to that hole. I'm not, at least not one I can ascertain. Ascertain, indeed. Oh, God. It's completely random, isn't it? Oh, you think, how are you going to get through that reliably? I mean, if you're timing it, you've probably got to have absolutely immaculate timing to be able to react anywhere near quickly enough to get right the way through it before it closes up if it opens up like that. Oh, for God's sake. Oh dear. Literally, the only things I'm liking about this is the smooth scrolling instead of the flick screen of the Spectrum version, and the splash sound effect. Everything else that I've experienced about this game absolutely sucks. Oh, for goodness sake, you don't get enough time to react once you know it's opening wide enough for you to actually get through. I'm surprised I even got through it that one time. And navigating through those underground caverns where you can't go anywhere other than up, down, left, or right, unlike Spectrum version where you can go all sorts of diagonals, it just makes it an unnecessary chore. Hey. Look at that display on the right. It's even pulsating as it scrolls vertically. Why is it like that? Oh God! All this kerfuffle with trying to get through these caverns because you can't go diagonally in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't use the accelerate and brake style and rotation style of the Spectrum version, which personally I think worked a lot better. I barely even touched that, for goodness sake. I mean, if there were some, you've heard about the console wars of Nintendo and Sega in the United States in particular. Well, there would have been home computer wars back in the day between owners of, in particular, the Commodore 64, the ZX Spectrum, and the Amstrad CPC. And there was no Amstrad CPC version of Scuba Dive as far as I can make out. So and I saw a note when I was reviewing the Spectrum version that it was based on a game which was done for the ORIC, a computer called the ORIC, ORIC. But apart from that, it only came out for the Spectrum's 48K and the Commodore 64. Oh, it actually momentarily pulsated open. Why can't I do that more often so I can actually stand a chance of getting through reliably? Oh dear. Oh, for goodness sake, this is horrendous. Oh God, how am I going to get past that when I can't go diagonally? Ooh, treasure. Oh God, the controls are so stiff. When you're trying to do really tiny movements, it's nigh on impossible. Oh, of course. I'm through again. Oh God, what the hell was that at the top of the screen there? A very poorly animated starfish. Well, poorly animated. There is no animation. It's literally just that, from what I can make out, just that one. Oh, for goodness sake. It's not crab this time. Oh, you just can't read those things. They just do whatever the hell they like. It's just like this hole. It's by the nearest fortune if you manage to get through without getting splatted. Oh dear. Come on. God, I thought I wasn't going to get through again that time, then have... Goodness me. Let's go a bit further down. Ooh, oxygen tower. Seriously, that starfish looks like a turtle that's sort of frozen somehow. Oh, so they don't actually stay in this version the way they do in the Spectrum version. So once you've got oxygen, you can't go back and top up again the way you can in that version. Oh, okay, they do come back after a bit. Oh, God. Oh. Seriously, I've had enough of this. So that's Scuba Dive for the Commodore 64. And to say that I didn't like it as much as the Spectrum version is putting it very mildly. In fact, I really hate this version with a passion. Apart from the splash sound effect and the scrolling instead of the flick screen, this version has pretty much nothing going for it whatsoever. It's nowhere near as polished as the Spectrum version. I mean, yeah, that version had colour clash, but I'd sooner take that over the lack of freedom and playability of this version. And as I said before, what the hell's with the water being grey? It means it seems like I'm swimming in milk. And the animation on everything is just so basic, and 2 frames of animation per sprite if you're lucky. And I'm sure that the Commodore 64 had more memory than the 48K Spectrum. And yet the 48K Spectrum version had really rich looking animation, and fish and squids and octopi and jellyfish and the like that could even turn around and swim in the opposite direction. I mean, if I was involved in one of those computer wars that would have taken place on the school playgrounds back in the day, if I was a Commodore 64 owner wanting to claim that that my machine was superior to the Spectrum, I definitely would not use this game to show it off. I mean, quite frankly, this is an embarrassment even for a 1983 game. Graphics are pretty crappy, all things considered. The boat that you dive from and go back to is very blocky, especially when you've got the other marine life that's on the same screen as it, and that's done to regular pixel proportions, and which makes the blockiness of the boat look even worse. The animation, as I said, is 2 frames per sprite if you're lucky, which makes it look like something that was done in BASIC. I really hope it wasn't. I mean, those jellyfish on that first screen, there's not even any animation on them at all. And looking at looking at that grey water, I mean, it felt like I was swimming in milk, and it's not as easy on the eye as the black screen of the Spectrum version. I mean, why couldn't it have been blue or something? And especially when you got into the underground cavern, the grey and the against the brown of the sides of the caverns, that really wasn't pretty to look at. So visually, it's very disappointing. Sound, again, this really doesn't make the best use of the Commodore 64's audio capabilities. the sound effects it plays, apart from the splash sound effect, are just laughable. I mean, you had that sort of swanny whistle style sound effect if you got hit by something on that first screen. And whatever that garbled sonic nonsense was whenever you hit something in the underground caverns. I mean, it sounds more like something that should have belonged on the Atari 2600 rather than on the Commodore 64. I mean, for what I understand, the Commodore 64 cost about £399 when it was first released. For a computer that cost that much when the ZX Spectrum was less than half that price, well, at least the rubber keyed version was, you would expect a game to have far better sound than that, than what was on that, and the Commodore 64 can and has done far better sound effects than what you hear in this, not counting that splash sound effect when you first dive into the water. Gameplay is what really lets it down. You can't move anywhere other than up, down, left or right, which greatly reduces the kind of swimming freedom that you have in the Spectrum version, which makes any potential enjoyment of exploring to try and get treasure nothing short of an absolute chore. Especially when you're in those really narrow underground passages and and when you're trying to do sort of light nudges in a direction to try and avoid smacking into something, and instead of doing, say, a pixel or two, it suddenly lunges about 5 pixels, which makes it very frustrating. And the fact that things like that hole that leads to the caverns in the first place, as well as some of the creatures in there that you have to try and get past without them touching you to get the treasure, such as the crab and that jumping octopus / sea anemone type thing, whatever the hell it's supposed to be. It just makes the whole thing particularly unenjoyable when it's that reliant on luck. And the controls while I was in the underground caverns seemed to be noticeably stickier, not helped by that issue, and it looked quite ugly with the scrolling and the right hand display juddering the way it did. It was actually incredibly distracting. So no, this is not a particularly polished product, even for 1983 standards. So I'm going to give Scuba Dive for the Commodore 64 3 out of 10. Now, if you want to play this game, play the Spectrum version. It's far more enjoyable and it's far fairer. And the control system just works so much better, and it's a lot easier on the eye, even with colour clash issues. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that review. Catch you on another video soon. Texie88 out.